yesterday, His Excellency, Mr. Speaker, all these statistics since yesterday, His Excellency the President of the Republic had to fly over to see the extent of the damage, and this morning, graciously, last night, the President instructed that from their contingency fund, we should be able to access some money. And I'm happy to state, I know the Finance Committee may come and brief the floor and give much details. A total amount of 350 million is being targeted to be used to help in dealing with the challenges that we have. Mr. Speaker, the President has instructed that 200 million will be targeting relief items to this close to over 10,000 households that have been affected across the whole coast, and the 150 will be used to mitigate the flood issues within this the coastal area.
Speaker, paragraph 589. The finance minister, the Speaker, admitted that between 2020, 2023, and 2024, the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government, the Speaker, drained and dredged 1,000 kilometers of drains. The Speaker, he also mentioned works that have been done. When you go to paragraph 599, the Speaker, that's the document I have here. And if you want, I will read. The Speaker, paragraph 589. 1,000 kilometers of drainage works were done or was done by the NPP government. Mr. Speaker, when you go to the 2026 budget, paragraph 527, 15 months in government, only 40 kilometers have been done. 40 kilometers. Mr. Speaker, it tells you the commitment of the government that made this flooding a major issue before coming to government. Mr. Speaker, the 2024 flood that happened, even though it was minimal, even though it was it was not compared to what we are seeing today. Mr. Speaker, he blamed government failure. He blamed engineering problem. Mr. Speaker, in 2025, when he assumed the office, now shift from the engineering problem and now blame attitudinal. Mr. Speaker, committee was formed to give solutions to this flooding. The committee only flew helicopter and came back, and then the flood got worse. And in addressing the flood, we find the president flying helicopter again when he knew the problems that were confronting Ghana before assuming office. Mr. Speaker, commitment, political commitment here must be prioritized, and that is important. We cannot, majority leader mentioned that every year we come here to talk about flooding. Yes, it is true, but we have not demonstrated any commitment, none. And it has been partisan, politicized each year and each year. And we make huge political capitals. When we come, we renege on the works. The Speaker, you made huge political capital from this work, but you came and reneged. The Speaker, I heard the president yesterday mentioning and instructing the finance minister to allocate 300 million for the flood issues. Mr. Speaker, I am concerned. 350 million. Mr. Speaker, I am concerned. You see, I am concerned because when the Akosomo and the Tong water or flooding issues happen, Mr. Speaker, the 2025 budget made allocation for them and it didn't go. The 2026 added another allocation, it didn't go. When the cocoa issue came, the president again directed the Minister of Finance to make allocation for cocoa farmers. From November last year to this year, July this year, the money hasn't gone. So I am very concerned about another directive that has been made. Whether that one is also going to be another political cliche. We must demonstrate and show action, not just talk, not just the gimmicks. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we stop the gimmickry, we stop the settings, we stop the scam, and deal with the issues, and deal with the issues well. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to urge that we be sincere to the Ghanaian people in dealing with this flood matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm grateful.
Rules. I will therefore give the floor to the Minister responsible for Interior to make his statement under Order 91. So, Minister, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me thank my colleagues for their indulgence, for indulging me, and to say that, as you may know, Mr. Speaker, anytime you have to come under Order 91, then it's minister and giving government policy. But when you come under 93, it could be an urgent public issue that you needed to draw attention of the public. And that was why usually I prefer to come under 93, where I'm a member of parliament. Even if you are a minister, you are not a member of parliament. By virtue of being a minister, you are an ex-officio member of parliament. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to thank the House for the indulgence and to say that we had an incident that is reoccurring. And Mr. Speaker, the flood that affected the Greater Accra was something that, yes, the Ghana Meteorological Agency drew our attention and told us that we should expect more rains this June and July. Yes, it's something that they mentioned to us. But what they try to do is that on daily basis, they try to give us, at least in 6 hourly basis, the likelihood of what will happen. Mr. Speaker, let me state that what happened yesterday came to our attention only around midnight of the day before yesterday. That yes, the rains, as they predicted, will be coming, but they are expecting that to be a little heavier than they expected. So even as at that time, they could not really tell us about the quantum of water we should expect. But Mr. Speaker, by the time we got to the morning, we saw a volume that is the 4th highest that this country has ever seen since 1995. A volume of 169 millimeters of water in a day. And Mr. Speaker, as you may see from the videos and the surveillance cameras, it flooded largely almost all Accra. It prevented people from coming into the central business center of the Accra, the center of Accra, because almost all the peripheries were affected. Mr. Speaker, 25 communities were affected. And with your permission, I will just go ahead and mention those communities that were heavily affected in the yesterday's rain. Mr. Speaker, we had Apollonia, or maybe I should just do the municipals, the metropolitan assemblies. In that one, there are 18 assemblies that were largely affected by the Monday, the rains. And these are Ga East, Lojokuku, Ayawaso Central, Ga Central, Ga West, Ablekuma North, Ningo Prampram, Weja Bawe, Ga South, Adenta, Kolikote, Okankwe South, Okankwe North, Tama West, Tama Metropolitan Assembly, La Dade Kotopong, and Krowo. Mr. Speaker, the number of persons that were displaced in the various municipalities are Ga East. We had 2,000 persons being displaced, and that's 400 households. We had 6 missing individuals and 5 deaths from Ga East alone. Lojokuku, we had 1,200 displaced with 240 households, 1 missing and 3, Lojokuku, there was no missing person, but we had 1 death. Ayawaso Central, 3,021 persons were displaced, and that's 605 households. We had 1 person missing and then 3 deaths. The Speaker, Ga Central, 1,811 individuals were displaced, 363 households, we didn't have any missing or dead person. Ga West, equally, we didn't lose anybody and nobody got missing, but the number of persons that were displaced were 2,300 and then 460 households. Ablekuma North, 651 displaced, 131 households, no missing or dead person. Ablekuma, Nungo Pram, 1,377 displaced, 276 households. Wejabawe, 2,500 households, 2,500 individuals, 500 households. Ga South, 2,100 displaced, 420 households. Adenta, 1,850, 370 households. Kolekote, 6,500 displaced, amounting to 1,300 households. Okankwe South, 701 displaced, 141 households. Okankwe North, 2,620, and then 524 households. Tema West, we had 690 households displaced with 3,450 individuals displaced. Tema Metropolitan Assembly, we have 721 households displaced, which affected 3,601 individuals. In the case of Tema West, we had 3 persons that lost their life. La Dade Kotopong, we had 404 households displaced, amounting to 2,020 individuals. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, Krowo, we had 220 households displaced and 1,100 individuals displaced without any death. Mr. Speaker, when you put all these numbers together, we have a total of 7,761 households that were displaced, with 38,802 individuals affected, with 7 persons still missing as of this morning, because, Mr. Speaker, I've been at the Finance Committee in the past 3 hours. I've not been able to read my briefs this afternoon. I don't know whether many more have been found, but 7 people as of this morning were displaced, and the total death are 12 individuals that we lost. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to extend our condolences and that of government and the people of Ghana to the families that lost their family members, and we assure them we are with them in this difficult moment. We know many people could not be in their homes and even sleep in their homes, but government is doing whatever it can. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll mention some information from Central Region that also happened last 2 weeks, which I have the details. In Central Region, Mr. Speaker, last 2 weeks, we had 58 houses that collapsed. And for those of us who are very familiar with Central Region and the kind of houses, because of the mud houses, some of them are the bricks, some of the houses were over 100 years old, but these were the districts and how they were affected. Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly lost 20 houses, Gomoa East 2 houses, Gomoa West 1 house, AOB 2 houses, Aguna East 7 houses, Gomoa Central 1 house, Tufo Ahima Lower Dentra 6 houses, AAK 4 houses, Mfansiman 5 houses, Asin South 1 house, Asin North 7 houses, Efutu 2 houses. And Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, there too we lost 18 individuals as per the report that was sent to me. In Cape Coast, death by building collapse 5, death by drowning 1, Gomoa Central, death by building collapse 1, death by drowning 1, Mfansiman, death by building collapse 2, death by drowning 1, Tufi Ati Monkwa, that's TAM, death by drowning 1, Upper Dentre West, death by drowning 3, Aguna West, death by drowning 1, Upper Dentre East, death by drowning 2. Mr. Speaker, if you permit me, I also have some information from Volta region. Volta region, the number of communities that were affected were in excess of 60 communities. I must admit, based on the information that we have, they were not life-threatening, situation in the case of Volta region, but the districts that were affected were Keta, and it had 7 communities that were affected. Anlo had 6 communities that were affected. Ketu South had 6 communities that were affected. Ketu North had 6 communities that were affected. South Tong had 8 communities that were affected. Akachi had 9 communities that were affected. Gotiman Zokwe had 6 communities that were affected. Adakulo had 2 communities that were affected. Central Tong had 3 communities that were affected. North Tong had 2 communities. Whole municipalities had 8 communities that were affected. Mr. Speaker, the same can be said of Western North, where in Samraboy we had a number of communities that were sunk. In fact, we had in excess of over 1,200 persons that were displaced in the Samraboy and its environs. Mr. Speaker, in the nutshell, to say that this was something that was a difficulty for us as a country. I must admit, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the statistics that we received from the Ghana Meteorological Agency, it clearly states that in the month of June, we normally expect a lot of rains. But what happened yesterday gave us 169.2 millimeters of water. And this is the 4th largest volume of water in a day since 1995. And for the month of June, we had a total in month of June of 593.2 millimeters of water. And Mr. Speaker, is the highest our country has ever received in its history in 1 month, 593.2. The closest was in 2002, and that was 420.6 millimeters. And the other one was 2015, 380.3 millimeters. And these statistics, Mr. Speaker, I'll make it available for the House, are the things that, so it clearly shows that, yes, the human activities, pouring, refuse into our drain, building on waterways, all contributed. But naturally, it clearly shows that even if we had everything right, the kind of rains that we received in June and yesterday will have necessarily created some overflow and created some problem for us. Mr. Speaker, what have been government interventions since we got to know that we were going to run into crisis? Mr. Speaker, you realize that the Minister of Interior gave an alert and advisory to all citizens, especially in and around Accra, to stay home, and we're able to do this very early. Mr. Speaker, we believe that that has contributed largely into minimizing the kind of crisis that we could have had. Because if all persons around that rush hour were in traffic where they could not turn around and other things, and worst case, maybe fire gutted into it, maybe we'll have been counting much losses than we are seeing today. Mr. Speaker, there were a number of fires that also came with yesterday's rain. We have the Odona market that there a lot of makeshift structures were burnt. We also had fire in Tema. We had, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I want to give some of the statistics that we received. Odona market, yes, the fire came in around 8:08 in the morning, just around the peak of the rain, and we did all we could, but it came under control at 11:33, almost midnight, and we're able to finally put it off around 2:32 a.m. this morning. Mr. Speaker, we also had fire in Tema, but fortunately, it wasn't, we didn't lose any life. It wasn't also very severe because we were able to deal with it. There was also a newly built 4-floor house that collapsed. Fortunately, at Tabora. Fortunately, no life was lost because all the occupants left the building before it collapsed. Mr. Speaker, all these statistics, since yesterday, His Excellency the President of the Republic had to fly over to see the extent of the damage, and this morning, graciously, last night, the President instructed that from their contingency fund, we should be able to access some money. And I'm happy to state, I know the Finance Committee may come and brief the floor and give much details. A total amount of 350 million is being targeted to be used to help in dealing with the challenges that we have. Mr. Speaker, the President has instructed that 200 million will be targeting relief items to this close to over 10,000 households that have been affected across the whole coast, and the 150 will be used to mitigate the flood issues within this the coastal area. Mr. Speaker, I must admit, when you look at Act 927, that's the National Disaster Management Organization Act. When you look at Section 21 of the Act, it clearly stipulates the Disaster Management Committee. And in the Disaster Management Committee, Mr. Speaker, if you permit me, we have almost all the relevant agencies being there, and it is chaired by the Minister for the Interior. As we speak, a meeting has been called at the Presidency involving all these ministers to come so that we put our heads together and make sure that we deal with the issue. Mr. Speaker, if you permit me, Section 21, National Disaster Management Committee. There is established a National Disaster Management Committee. The National Disaster Management Committee is subject to subsection 3, comprises A, the Minister for the Interior as chairperson, Director General, that's for the Director Generals of the NADMO, that's National Disaster Management Committee, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Director General of the National Ambulance, the Chief Directors of each of the following ministries: Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing, Ministry of Information and Media Relations, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Inspector General of Police, the Chief Fire Officer, the Chairperson of the National Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, Climate Change Management, one representative of the Consortium of Non-Governmental Organizations, one representative of the Interagency Standing Committee of the United Nations Country Team, one representative of the Ghana Federation of Disabled, and the legal officer of the National Disaster Management Organization as Secretary. Mr. Speaker, we are of the view that we don't need to only go there with our chief directors. We want the ministers themselves to be there with the support of their chief directors, so that we give it the necessary attention that it requires. Mr. Speaker, we want to assure this House that these resources that is being extended to this committee will make sure that it is put to the best of use. We have even started the move with the acting defense minister that we should put our 48 engineers regiment in place to use the resources in making sure that all those clearance that needs to be done is done by the 48 engineers, so that we do not have to waste time in going through procurement challenges and all that. So we'll be using our own military to carry out as much as possible all they can be able to do. So, Mr. Speaker, yes, we've lost 12 lives, which is very unfortunate. I want to believe that as a country, we probably have to work very hard to ensure that we minimize these losses. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak on one of our prominent media houses, and I said, disasters will always come. It is how prepared you are that will determine the amount of loss that may be occurred. Because, Mr. Speaker, today, and I'm saying it not to water down the effect, but just to draw all of us attention, that America is the richest country in the world. And one of its richest states is California. California state is the richest state in America. In fact, standing on its own, is the sixth largest economy in the world. Yet they had disaster and people lost their life. But they have all the money, they have all the measures. We are not using this as an excuse. Water will always come, but we must do what we can as people. And we are looking at this as a whole of government and a whole of society. We are looking at it as a whole of government and a whole of society approach, where individuals will have to take their responsibility, assemblies have to take their responsibility, those of us in government will have to take our responsibility and work very hard to ensure that we do not lose life unnecessarily. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the House for the audience, and I hope that in our contribution we will make sure that we do not degenerate this into politicking when our people are dying and people really need relief. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, leaders, how many comments each are we taking? In view of the fact that we have other two statements on a similar subject matter.
Mr. Speaker, just before we agree on the number, if the minister can give us a copy of the statement he just read. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, we had agreed that.
Honourable members, the background noise is too much.
We had agreed that we would take two statements on the same subject matter. One from the chairman of the Works and Housing Committee, and then one from, Sanitation, Water and Sanitation Committee, and then one from the former Minister for Works and Housing.
Yes.
Speaker, with respect, the minister came under Order 91 of the rules of this House. 93. Well, whichever rule you came under, the provisions are very clear. There must be prior approval from Speaker, which suggests that Speaker would have seen a copy of the statement and approve of state that it complies with. Don't worry. Mr. Speaker, I submit that there is no formal ministerial statement. Because, Mr. Speaker, we are here. The leaders, 5 year, 5 year. At least, members should have copies of this ministerial statement. Mr. Speaker, at a point, the minister delved into politics. He moved away from whatever formal statement and was now raising very controversial issues. So you should make available the copy of the statement which was approved by you. Let us have printed copies, or even soft copies should be put on the console, so that members who want to contribute will properly anchor their submissions. We don't want situations where you would come and say you didn't say this and somebody is misconstruing you. So make it available. Mr. Speaker, you have always been insisting on the rules, but if a cabinet minister decides to take the law into his own hands, Mr. Speaker, the entire House will be watching the pronouncement that will come out from the presiding officer. Thank you.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we can excuse the minority leader for all the things that he has said, because he was late. He came into this chamber after we had commenced proceedings, and he came much after we had sought your permission in the absence of a formal written statement, given the exigencies of the times, for the minister to make a statement to the House. A statement need not be written. a statement need not be written. But in any case, the Speaker dispensed with those requirements and granted the minister the permission. And I expressly stated when making the application to the minister that the statement was not ready. I made that statement, that it wasn't ready. But the matter is so urgent that he should grant leave for the minister to make the statement. And he did grant leave for the minister to make statements. And the statement has been very rich, a lot of facts, details, dates, incidents that have occurred, the locations where the incidents have occurred. And the moment when the statement is made, every member is supposed to, in silence, listen. And having listened, you are deemed to have received copies of the statement because you have heard every single sentence. You have heard every single sentence. You have become aware. You have become aware of the facts. The facts. Because the statement is about facts. And you have become aware of the facts. And so, having become aware of the facts, if the Speaker now gives us the opportunity to comment, you can comment on the basis of what you have heard. That is perfectly the practice in this House. So, Mr. Speaker, like I indicated, we had agreed that the two statements will be taken. The one by the chairman of Sanitation and Water, and then the former Minister for Works and Housing.